Good afternoon to everyone. Today is the sixth day of the virtual PDP class, and today we are going to see the journals and as well as the regression because yesterday we have seen the correlation in the regression. Today we are going to see a more informative information from the resource person, Sir Dr. Arun Mishra. Sir, the question is yours, sir. You can start, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So just give me one moment. I will adjust the fan so that the sound is clear and there is no disturbance.
Sure, sir.
So today we have two very important topics. One is cluster analysis, and second topic we have is the research paper writing for Scopus, SSCI, and good quality journals or ABDC journals. Now, cluster analysis is even again very important because nowadays you need a new statistical technique to get your paper published and to at least get the attention of the editor. See, every editor wants to publish something new, something good, something better than already published papers. Okay, so you have to be unique in your strategy. Your topic should be new, but along with that your statistical technique should also be new. Okay, because journals want to contribute to the something extra to the existing body of knowledge. But before that paper writing thing, we will discuss the cluster analysis. Now cluster analysis is a very popular technique, however, in data mining, and it is also an exploratory technique. So I will share the screen and then we will discuss about the cluster analysis. So as I usually do, I will share a Word file for the notes and so I'm sharing the whole screen. Now, can you see my Word file?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So on this file, I'll be doing some notes and all. So first question is, what is cluster analysis and what is cluster? So cluster is basically, we can say, a group of homogeneous units. Group of homogeneous units. The units in a cluster are similar to each other, not exactly the same, but they are similar to each other. Now, when it comes to say marketing, we can say cluster is a group, cluster is a segment, cluster is a collection of something. So that has some homogeneity. Okay. Now, if I have two clusters, from each other. Okay. So what should be the quality of two clusters? Suppose we have cluster A and cluster B. So my first observation is that the units of cluster A are similar to each other, and the units of cluster A are different from units of cluster B. Am I right? The units of same cluster are similar to each other, and units of one cluster are different from the another cluster. If I roughly draw kind of a diagram in a data points, so suppose I have the data points like this. It does not matter that how many units are there in the cluster. There may be one more or less. So now we can identify three clusters here. Cluster number 1, cluster number 2, and cluster number 3. So the units may be different and they are different from each other. So if I say one data point here, the value of this data point is somewhere this on of this data point is this x1. Here x and y both are different, or maybe x is same but y is different. So that is why there is a distance in the. Now we can do this with the help of say with the help of you say mean values, centroid of the cluster. Centroid means if I say what is the centroid of this cluster, so I can pinpoint somewhere. Let me take like a blue color. I can point that this is the centroid, this point. This is the centroid. This is the centroid. If a new unit comes, I will compare with this centroid that to which centroid it is proximate. Okay. So suppose, for example, the mean of the centroid, mean value of cluster, cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. The mean value of cluster A is say 10, cluster B is 15, and cluster C is 24, or say 20. Now, how the next unit, suppose the next unit comes is 12. Next unit is 12. So which cluster it belongs to? So a simple method is 10 minus 12, comma, 15 minus 12, comma, 20 minus 12. So here the result is minus 2, 3, and 8, which is the smallest number except the minus and plus. So we don't actually consider minus and plus while measuring the distance and proximity. This is a distance and proximity technique. So 2 is the smallest one, hence it belongs to cluster 1. 2 belongs to 10. So it belongs to cluster 1. So now one more unit added 12. But if the unit is 14, then it will belong to cluster B. If the unit is 16, it will still belong to cluster B. 17 belong to cluster B, and 18 will belong to cluster C. So according to the distance and proximity, if something is proximate to one cluster, will be distant on a distance to the another cluster. Okay. Now coming to, I'm sorry, this is a different slide. Coming to the next point, like what is the application of cluster analysis? So applications are like unlimited. In marketing, it goes for market segmentation. In finance, it may go for investor segmentation. I guided a student, one of my friend's sister. She was pursuing PhD on behavioral finance, and I guided her to make the investor segment for investment decisions, and then I applied cluster analysis for her. Amazing results were, very good results were found. Then we have marketing finance in human resource. In human resource, we can have the segments of employees. In social sciences, segments of say in politics, we have segments of voters, segments of social workers, customers, people, anybody, anybody that can be divided based on. And good thing is that cluster analysis can be applied on any type of data, any type of, cluster analysis is applied on ratio data and interval data, but any number of variables. Interval scale and ratio scale. Okay. So we will take up few examples of clusters, cluster strength, cluster distance, proximity, dendrogram. There is a lot to discuss about the cluster analysis. Okay. My voice is audible or any issues?
No, sir, audible only, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us proceed further with the some of the examples of cluster analysis. I have 3-4 good examples of cluster analysis. Then we apply ANOVA also to check our clusters. This is a bigger example. We will see it later. Even bigger cluster manual example. Okay. So if I see this list of variables, now we can think of clustering this very simple group of variables. But if we see that we can say that this group belongs to 2, 3, 4 belongs to one group, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 belongs to one group, and 20, 25, and 30 belongs to one group. Though the cluster analysis would it may take different data points, different groups also. So logically what we do is we would put them into different groups based on the software, what a software tells us. Okay. So now what we'll do is we will simply go to analyze. In SPSS, we know that all the commands are there in the analyze. For data analysis, we will go to classify. In classify, we have many types of clusters. One is two-step cluster, k-means cluster, hierarchical cluster, tree, discriminant analysis, and nearest neighbor. So we'll go for the approach that is k-means cluster. K means cluster means k means number of clusters. Okay, number of clusters, and means is mean value. So average is the basic ground on which the clusters will be done. Clustering of the data will be done. So what we will do is we will apply the cluster analysis on this file. This is inside. Now this will ask us how many clusters do you want? And the $1,000,000 question is, no method in the cluster analysis tells us how many clusters are ideal clusters. We have to decide. So what do we do is first we make the clusters, then we check whether they are good or bad. How to check they are good or bad, I will tell you later. Now, suppose I want 3 clusters to be done. Okay. So while applying cluster analysis, there is a button called save. See, in SPSS, whenever we save something, it is saved in our input file. Okay, input file. So cluster membership we want to save. Continue and okay. So now we can see that we forget all about internal cluster centers, final cluster centers. The important table is this one. In this table, we can see that there are 3 clusters. We ask the software to make 3 clusters. Cluster 1, 3 units, cluster 2, 4 units, cluster 3, 2 units. And there is no missing, zero missing, total 9 observations. So 9 observations have been divided like this, 3, 4, and 2. Though we manually divided them into a different way, 3, 3, 3. So there is some issue happened. Some issue means the software is more intelligent than we people. So it has done like this. Okay. But more important to know is that which cluster, which unit is in which cluster. That is more important, right? So I told you that this is always there in the input file. Okay. So this is the input sheet. 2 is with in the cluster 1, 3 is in cluster 1, 4 is in cluster 1. 10, 11, 12, and 20 are in the cluster 2. And 25 and 30 are in the cluster 3. Okay. So basically, this is what the way software divides. Okay. So this is a very small, simple example of doing cluster analysis with SPSS. But there are many questions that are still unanswered. Question number 1 is how to decide the number of clusters. Okay. How to ensure that there is a significant difference between the clusters or among the clusters. How to check the difference between the clusters, and how many units should be there in a cluster. Okay. Now, these are some very, subjective questions, very subjective questions. These 4 are very important yet subjective questions. Okay. Now, how to decide the number of clusters? Number of clusters is a researcher's objective basically. Suppose I want to serve based on gender. Now I want features distinct for males and females. So I will go for 2 clusters. Okay. I want to explore. If I want to explore, I will go for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clusters and will choose the most appropriate one. Now, what is the most appropriate? Which qualifies these two? Like, there should be a substantial distinct from each other and substantial number of units in clusters. Suppose there is a cluster out of, say, suppose 500 sample size, and out of 500 sample size, there is suppose a cluster of 35 units. Now, this is of no use. We may ignore it, or we may merge it with another cluster. So suppose if you have 6 clusters or 5 clusters, you can give command of 4 clusters. So the smallest cluster generally is merged. Okay. So this is the way that we do exploration in the cluster analysis. So I'll take one important example and then I will go through the dendrogram also so that you understand it in a better way. Okay. Then I will show you a research paper also in which cluster analysis is applied. It is a Scopus published paper of one of my research papers. We'll show you later. So I have a few observations. First, let us read this data carefully. Uh, yeah. So I'm copying this data here. Suppose you have collected data from 10 customers, okay, and you want to segment them. You want to segment them. I'm deleting this cluster. Okay. Now, let's see how do they respond to different things. We surveyed about a cell phone, display, battery, speed, price, and brand. So we asked that how much a particular feature of a phone is important for them. Display, price, battery, speed of display, price, display, battery, speed, price, brand. Display, battery, speed, speed, and brand. Okay, these are the features, and we ask that 5 is for most important, 1 is for least important. Okay, 5 is for most important and 1 is for least important. So from respondent number 1, he said display is very important but not most important. Battery is most important, speed is most important, price is most important. So one who says price is most important means he wants a cheaper product. But battery and speed should be good. Display can be compromised a bit. Brand can be compromised to a large extent. Okay, brand is moderately important. Of course, when the price is important, so you have to compromise with the brand. Okay, so this is one category of person. Now, next is second respondent says display, battery, speed, price, and brand. He is not price conscious. He says, I don't have any concern of price, but I want a good brand. Third person is equal for all and everything he wants moderately good, not the excellent one, but good, of good quality. Fourth is more conscious about, these three are same, but fourth is more conscious about price. He can not price, sorry. He can compromise a bit with the brand, but not with the display, battery, and speed. Okay. Likewise, we have the features of other customers also. So there are 10. Now, if we divide them, if you see that most of them are equal, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5 for battery and speed. A few of them do not give importance to display, but there is a distinct in the price and brand. There is a reverse relation. 5, 3, 3, 5, 4, 4, 3, 4, 5, 2, 5, 1, 5, 3, 4, 4. These two are same. You'll find that two customers are exactly the same. Who are those two? Let's find. So, so they're very close. I think there were two who were same. Okay, we'll find them later. There is no issue. I think I should copy this data rather than, yes. All right. Okay. And We'll find it out. Now with this data, we want to make clusters. We want to segment these 10 customers. So let me close this file. I'll go to k-means cluster again, and this time I have 5 variables. We'll put all the 5 variables at the same time. I want, say, suppose I want 3 clusters, save the cluster membership and okay. So there are 2 types of results. One result is how many respondents or numbers or members are there in the cluster. That is one. Second is, these are the number 1 4, number 2 2, and number 3 4. Okay. Second important aspect is the who are in which cluster. That is very, very important. That is most important. Okay. Because ultimately in cluster analysis, we must know who wants a particular thing so that his characteristics can be compared. If you don't save the cluster membership, you cannot even apply ANOVA or something. Okay. This is a categorical variable, cluster membership. Now you see, we copy this cluster membership from here for analysis purpose. Okay. Now this is say cluster membership 1. Whatever I write, it doesn't matter. This is our blackboard actually. So you see that 1, this belongs to one cluster. I'm marking it red. This and this, these 4 belongs to one cluster. We will see there are 2 who belongs to one cluster. This one and no, cluster 2. This one and this one. So we will write their features actually. What do they like? And rest are in the cluster 3. So what actually cluster 1 means? The 4 candidates of cluster 1. What are their characteristics? Am I audible? And is it good to go? You are learning, right? Just confirm me once. Is it okay? All right. Okay. Now we see that there are 3 clusters. Now cluster 1 is display, battery, speed, price, and brand. Brand is low, price is high. High price will be done, no problem. Similarly, price 5, price 5, price 5, brand is 213. So a clear demarcation is price and brand. Low brand and price is high. Price should be low, brand should be compromised, can be compromised. So we can say that price conscious and can compromise with the brand, but not with the features. If you see that all 4 and 5 in features, everybody is 4 and 5 in features, but not in the features. Okay. So they are more like, they can go for a phone like Oppo, Vivo, which are economic, or Redmi or Xiaomi. They can go for these sort of phones. They don't want to compromise in the, and if we can say that, but they're not conscious about brand, but the price. So this is a good segment for them. Now cluster 2 is This is an exploratory technique like factor analysis. So we are naming them. Cluster 2 is 4, 4, 5, 5, 3, 4. They can compromise a bit with the display quality, but cannot compromise with battery speed. Little bit of they want brand also, they want, So we can say that they can go for say Samsung or like that. Samsung is though a good brand, maybe some other brand. So we can say these are moderate brand conscious, but cannot compromise with essential features. Essential features or like mandatory features like battery, like speed should be good. Third cluster comes is 5, 4, 4 and 5. So they're more like brand conscious, but equal to a little bit of brand conscious, because if you calculate the average is, but they do not want to compromise with high compromise with any of the features, but they are towards the brand. However, the distinct is not so high in cluster 2 and cluster 3, but yes, they are 5, 5, 4, 4 because it is a k means cluster. So mean of brand here is 4 in cluster 2, and in cluster 3 the mean of brand is 4.5. So that is the distinction point. If we make two clusters, cluster number 2 and 3 would probably will merge. So we will do that also. We'll experiment that also. So they are brand conscious and slight compromise with the essential features. But if we go for price, they are not price conscious. 3, 3, 4, 3. But if we see cluster 2, they are price conscious also. So they are not price conscious. And these are moderate price conscious. Okay. So these people who don't want to compromise with the features, brand conscious, may go for Apple or OnePlus kind of phones. Okay. Hope it is clear to all of you. Now we will do an experiment, and now we will make two clusters rather than three clusters. So I'll keep everything same and we'll just change this two clusters. And okay, now we see that there are 4 and 6 members in the clusters. There are only two clusters, 4 and 6. Cluster number 1, there are 4 members. Cluster number 2, there are 6 members. 4 and 6 members in the cluster. How do we go for it? Like what do we do is, again we copy the membership, copy, and we paste it here. So 1 is still with 1. These are the same 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Same cluster in one cluster. Now you see that these 3, 3, 3 and 3 plus 2, 2 all have become 2. What does it mean? It means that when I was already saying that there is a similarity in cluster number 2 and 3, now they have been merged. So if I merge the features of these two, what will be the outcome? First is correct. Price conscious can compromise with the brand. And second is brand conscious and can compromise with the price. Okay. Can pay a higher price, but they're brand conscious. All right. So these are the two clusters that we make. This is initial understanding about the cluster analysis. If you have any questions, you can ask. Then otherwise, we will move to the second phase of cluster analysis.
So there is no any questions here.
Okay, so we will start the second part now. Now, I'm deleting this for a while, and there is a concept of hierarchical clustering and dendrogram. Now, what a dendrogram shows, the dendrogram is based on the uh, where a data point meets a cluster. Okay. Or we can say in the beginning where a data point meets another data point to make a cluster, and further where a data point meets a cluster, so that to increase the family of that cluster. All right. So this keeps on, happening. And ultimately, there is always one cluster. But we are not satisfied with one cluster. If we say human beings, so there is only one cluster. If we say human beings based on gender, we had two clusters. We said no, there are transgenders also. So we have, three clusters, male, female, and transgenders. So similarly, we keep on evolving. If we say there are, human beings based on caste or based on religion, we may have 4 or 5 clusters. Okay. So accordingly, we can divide the clusters, and wherever they meet, then the number of clusters are lesser. But we want to make ideal clusters. Okay. So we will check that also after dendrogram. We'll come back to this clustering example of 4 and 6, and then we will complete it. Now, if I want to apply a cluster based on the dendrogram, I'll go to classify hierarchical cluster. In hierarchical cluster, I put in all the variables. In statistics, the method is okay. Plots, I need dendrogram. So dendrogram is here. I will click this box, dendrogram. Continue. In save, I can save the solution, but now you see that there are no number of clusters given. So dendrogram will not divide into clusters. Even if I want to save, there is no cluster membership. Okay. There is a single solution, none, or range of solutions. So right now I say none, and or I can cancel it. Method you need not select. Now we will go with the default method, and okay. So my main interest is dendrogram, this one. So I'll copy this and paste it here so that I can do some operations in this. So let us make it a bit smaller. Yeah. Now this is good to go. You see that dendrogram using average linkages based on the, between the groups. We have to understand this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the sequence. Okay. Is the sequence. We can even do it like this also. I think that's better. And this is okay. So this is a sequence. This is a serial number 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, these are the data points 1, 7, 5, 6, 8, 10, 2, 9, 3, and 4. We see that the data points number 1 and number 7 are very proximate to each other. 1 and 7 are very close to each other. Okay. Are they actually very close to each other? Let us find out. 1 and 7. 1 is 45553. 7 is 45553. Exactly same. I told you that there are some points which are exactly same. So I actually forgot, but now the software has identified. 1 and 7 are exactly same, and that is why they have immediately clustered themselves. So if I say that who are the most proximate respondents, these respondent number 1, customer number 1, customer number 7 are the most proximate. Why we have taken an example of 10 observations so that we can see the features behavior of one by one customers. Similarly, we have 5 and 6. The next proximate is 5. So there is one cluster. First cluster is formed here. I will mark the clusters in the green color. Okay, so first cluster is formed here. Oh, I'm sorry. Here. This is the first cluster. Why this is the first cluster? Because no other cluster, no other data points have met each other anywhere else. You see that. If I draw a line here, and let me put some weight to this line. Picture effect. So this is a blue color. Lines we will take up in blue color. There is only one cluster. No data points are meeting. The data points are meeting here, 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 and they are making a kind of a rectangle. So what is the next data point that is meeting? That is 5. 5 is meeting at level 5. On level 5, 8 and 10 are meeting with each other. 2 and 9 are meeting with each other. Okay, this is not meeting. And 5 is meeting with existing 1, 7 and 5. So we have now 3 clusters. Earlier we had one cluster. Other data points were individual data points. Now the cluster, this first cluster has now become this one with 3 points. This is the second one where 7 and 10 and 8 are meeting. And this is the third one. Now individual data points left are 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are still different from others. Can we see that why 3 and 4 are so distinct? Let's see. 3 and 4. Here they are. They are different. Now from, this is not the final result. I'm just talking about. Now we have how many clusters? We have 3 clusters and 4 and 5, 3 and 4 have not met. So they are also different from each other. And they're also different from others. Okay, they're not meeting anyone. So there are 3 clusters plus 3 and 5. So in a way, there are 5 clusters. So step 1, clustered is equal to First 1 and 7 cluster, 1 and 7. Okay. And what are the leftover data points? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. These are the leftover data points. Okay. So what cluster? Only one cluster. And these are the data points. So in a way, we have 9 clusters. 8 data points and 1 cluster. We have 9 clusters. In step 2, so 9 clusters out of 10 is of no use. If I say I have 10 respondents and 9 clusters, so what is the clustering? Of no use. So we have to go a little beyond. In step 2, we clustered what? 1, 7, 5, okay, comma, 8, 10, 2 and 9. 8 and 10 and 2 and 9. Okay. And then we have data points like 3 and 4. So in a way, we have 3 clusters and 2 data points. It means 5 clusters. In a way, we have 5, because if an individual is not included in the cluster, it's in itself, it is a cluster. Or you have to strike it off. You have to say bye-bye to it. Otherwise, it will behave like a cluster. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back in a minute. Let me have some water and I'll be
Okay,
back.
sir. Okay, sir.
All right, I'm back now. So we have taken 2 steps now. Now we'll take step 3 with the help of the figure only. You see that I'm taking the help of the figure only. So in the step 3, I'll see which data points are meeting. Now, what next? Step 3, this is one meetup here, which is the latest significant. No, before this is meeting. This point you see. And after this is meeting. So 3 and 4 are making one cluster here. 3 and 4 are making a cluster at this point. So this is one more cluster in, we can say this is a cluster. All right. So we can say that now 3 or 4 have clustered. So all clusters are there. There are no data points. There are 4 clusters. 3 and 4 are also the clusters. Okay. 1, 7, 5, 8, 10, 2, 9, and 3, 4, there are 4 clusters. So slowly and steadily, we are going to reach the cluster, behavior. Now, at step 4, what happened is one more unit joins cluster number 1, 1, 7, 5, and 6. This is the nearest one. After this is a cluster, this and this is the whole cluster. So at fourth stage, fourth point, 6 is joining the existing cluster. First, the cluster was formed by 1 and 7. 5 joined this, and then now 6 is also joining this cluster. So let 6 allow to join this cluster. And now this cluster is bigger. This is the cluster. So now 6 is joining this cluster. Okay. So how will we write it? We just copy it. And we make here the clusters will remain same. Okay, 6 was earlier not there in any cluster, na? So this was a bit of a mistake. 3, 4, and 6. 6 clusters, and now here it was the data point is 6. So this was the 5 clusters. Now 6 is not there. Now we can say that 6 had joined this cluster now. So all have joined 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 clusters. Now there are 4 clusters 1, 2, 3, and 4. We forgot 6 in the data points earlier. Now we have included it. Now what next? If we see, this is the next one. After this is the next one. This is a merge of 2 clusters 2, 9, 3, and 4. So let's do it. 2, 9, 3, 4. Okay. So the next step is step number 5, hierarchical cluster. Step number 5, 2 clusters have been merged. Which one? 2, 9, 3, and 4. So 2, 9, 3, and 4 make one cluster. So one cluster is, there are 3 clusters. Now, let us compare with our normal result. Okay. 1756 makes one cluster. 1756. We can say 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, 2, 3, 4, and 9. So here we go. We have 3 clusters 1, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, one cluster. 8 and 10, cluster number 8 and 10, cluster number 2. And 2, 3, 4, 9. 2, 3, 4, 9. 2, 3, 4, and 9, cluster number 3. So exactly the results of hierarchical cluster are matching with the results of the k-means cluster, right? That is all the game of proximity and distance. And what next? We merged our 8 and 10, the clusters to cluster number 3. Sorry, cluster number 2, this 10 and 8, we merged with the cluster number 2 at the later stage. So let's see what happens. Now, next meeting is here. So next meeting is this one. Okay, clear? So now we have two clusters, 8, 10, 2, 9, 3, and 4. They are merged with each other. Okay. Step number 6. Clustered is, this is the same. Only this bracket will open, and this is one cluster, this is two clusters. There is hardly any difference that cluster number 1 or cluster number 2, doesn't matter. Okay, two clusters. And even if we go beyond this, this is the last meeting and the whole thing will be one cluster. So that does not make any sense in the cluster analysis. Okay, so this was basic concept of the cluster analysis and SPSS application. But this is not enough actually. We will go to one more level and we will check the strength of the clusters, whether the clusters are good, bad. There is a, so one, at least one question we will answer, that I wrote here, how to check the difference between the clusters, how to check whether the difference is significant or not. So let me make two clusters. I'm removing this result now. Let's make two clusters in this and try to find out whether there is a difference or not. So in K means cluster, I make two clusters. Okay. So let's see, the membership is there. Okay. Now this membership will, I'll write the name membership. This membership is a categorical variable. So we have, based on the membership, we will decide upon the difference between the two clusters. Okay. Based on the membership, we will decide whether there is a difference between the two clusters or not. Okay. So we can make hypothesis also, but there is no requirement generally while testing the clusters to make hypothesis. So we go to analyze, compare means, because it is a K-means cluster, independent sample to test, because there are only two categories. If there would have been three categories, we would have applied ANOVA, but there are two categories, so we will apply this. These are all metric variables. This is a non-metric variable. This is define groups 1 and 2. T-test will always ask you to define the groups. ANOVA will never ask you to define the groups. Okay. Continue and look. Now this is the result. I'm more interested into the significance thing. So I'll take the first one. This. So if with respect to, in these two clusters, with respect to display battery and speed, the significance value is more than 0.05, which means that there is no significant difference. But for brand and price, for price and brand, the significance value is below point, not for the price also, it's above 0.05, but this is below 0.0. So we can say that brand is the only variable that is making out the significant difference between the two clusters. Okay, hope it is clear. If we see this value, second value, it is significant on 10%, but not on 5%. So we say the brand is the main variable that is distinguishing the two factors. Okay. So because this data point size is very small, and even if this comes out to be a significant variable, this is quite good. So this is the way we check the differences between the clusters with the help of t-test and ANOVA. We can apply ANOVA if the clusters are more than 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters. If there are 2 clusters, we apply t-test, and this is the way that we publish the research papers also. So we are close to 3 o'clock now, and we have one more topic to be discussed. Do you need a break? Uh, can we have a break of 5 minutes, or we can continue?
Yeah, so yeah, sure.
Okay. So we'll take a 5 minutes break, and then we can continue with the research paper part. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. So, all right, we are back after the break of 5 minutes. Right. We have lot of, WhatsApp stuff nowadays, which is of no use. So we just read it out without even reading. Anyways, so most important thing is like nowadays, which is research paper writing. So I'll share a screen in a while. I'm just sharing my screen, research paper writing, and then we will continue. So now what are the different parts of a research paper, and what should we include in that? What should we not include in that? It is really a matter of concern for all of us. Okay. So I'm sharing the screen. No, sorry. What? Yes. Yes. So now my PPT is shared. So yeah. So how do we write a research paper, a good research paper, and how do we like publish it? Now, first we need to understand the constituents of a research paper. Now, whenever we write a research paper, there is always a title, an abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, purpose, problem formulation, or research gaps, which actually shows what is the significance of the paper. See, the first question which is asked from everyone, and an editor expects that how your paper contributes to the existing body of knowledge, how your paper is able to contribute to the literature, to the journal, to the existing knowledge, what linkages you are going to offer. Research design. In research design, we thoroughly explain that how did we collect data, how did we design the instrument. It is not just you write 3 4 lines, 5 6 lines for the the research papers. It is important to elaborate the research design clearly with respect to the sample size, with respect to the you know with respect to the statistical techniques, with respect to the instrument development, and you give the references of your methodology so that you can justify, you can back up your methodology that it is like that. Okay. Then we have data analysis and interpretation. Now I already told you that there should be some solid, appropriate, and novel statistical techniques nowadays. uh, MOS, structural equation modeling, smart PLS, and other statistical tools, very importantly, they are actually working. Then we come to the discussion and findings. Now, this part is generally in most of the papers is very poor. More more than the statistical technique, it is important that how you present your results and how you show the interpretation, and how you explain the interpretation. Because suppose you find out some figure that I say that it is significant if it is below 0.05, but you have to explain it also. Then we have discussion, findings, conclusion, implications, and scope for future research. This is the most important part in a paper, where you justify that you have actually contributed to the existing body of knowledge. You have to write that how your paper has come out with the new things which were not there in the literature, and how its base, its premise is still connected with the existing literature. Okay, so you have to keep a watch on that. And then references. So references are obviously in APA 6th or APA 7th edition generally. in social sciences, and in technical it is IEEE. In somewhere in management field there is Harvard style also for the references. So that is what. Now let us go to the one by one practically what should we take care of. Now we see, first of all, we should see the area of research. What should be the area of research? So area of research is like, it should not be overworked. Like most of us do retailing, online retailing. Now these areas, you see that nowadays papers are published on chatbots, chat GPT, AI, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, applications of all these in social sciences. Suppose you are from the department of humanities, suppose English. So you see that how English is taught through AI, social media. These are the new topics. Blended learning, flipped classroom for education field. And even in the field of, say, literature, you have to find out something new. So you get the ideas from Google Scholars, ResearchGate, Academia.edu, Emerald Insights, Willie, Taylor and Francis, Sage Publications, IGI Global, Ender Science, Springer, Elsewhere, etc. Okay. So once you get the idea, the area of research, you start working on a title. Now, these are some of the prerequisites that how good a title should be, how to design a title. The title should be crisp, direct, and clear. There should be there is no scope of ambiguity in the title of a research paper. The title should be crisp, direct, and clear. Not too vague. It should not be vague. It should be clear. Not too big, not too small. Neither it should be so big, nor it should be so small. I will show you some sample of the titles, sample titles. Small, which is say broad, and big is specific. If you keep your title small, it will be very broad. Like if I say retailing in India, it is a small title, but it is very broad. Retailing in India means organized, unorganized, online, offline, store retailing, B2B, B2C, okay, C2C, all types of retailing, e-commerce. But if I say a study of technology acceptance model in the context of online retailing in India with respect to automobile industry. So it is a bigger topic, but it is a very specific topic. Okay. The topic should not be even bigger than that. This is the standard that you have to have a topic of say 30 words or 25 words maximum. Reflection of variables. 14 words is generally considered to be a good topic. Reflection of variables. Your topic, your title should reflect the variables, like impact of ease of use on customers' adoption of for technology. This is topic that reflecting the variables. Clarity about independent and dependent variable. Impact of A on B. So this is showing that A is independent and B is dependent. Then we have mentioned the geographical area. This is not mandatory, but you can mention like in Delhi NCR, in right. Question form or statement form, both accepted. The title can be in question form also. That how customer satisfaction affects customer loyalty. This can be a title. Okay. Clarify the use of theory. If you're using any theory, you should put it into the title, like application of TPB, theory of planned behavior, technology acceptance model, unified theory of adoption of technology and all. Mention of statistical techniques. Now, statistical techniques, it is not mandatory, and sometimes people say that you should not mention. But my experience has been different, entirely different. I have published around 15 Scopus papers uh, in different journals, and in many papers I have given the statistical technique in the title itself. So let's see some example of the titles. But before that, there are three examples of the length of a title, like a study of retailing in India, a comparative study of customers' choices for online and offline retailing in India or Delhi NCR. And third is impact of brand awareness, brand association, perceived quality, brand loyalty, brand equity in the context of organized retail stores in Delhi and NCR with mediation effect of consumer innovativeness. So the third one is a very bad title. First one is very broad and second one is a standard title. So if I go for the third one, what I can do is impact of PQ. I can simply write impact of Acker's brand equity dimensions on brand equity or brand loyalty in the context of Delhi NCR. And mediation effect I can discuss later in the scope of the study. So the suggestion is to keep your title within 14 to 20 words. That is the best strategy. Now, these are examples of some of the good titles from international journals. So all the titles have been taken from Scopus journals. Reputation and its consequences in fintech services, the case of mobile banking, student acceptance for social media in higher education, an application of UTOT2 model. So UTOT2 is a theory. So I said the theory you can show in the title. Assessing adherence. This is my paper with a co-author, with three co-authors. We have four authors in this paper. Assessing adherence and patient satisfaction with medication. Validation of TSQM in emerging markets. So TSQM is treatment satisfaction questionnaire for medication. Full form not mentioned in the title. We did not mention the full form title. It was given in the abstract. Okay. So fourth one is measuring the direct and indirect effect of key competencies of effectiveness of technical managers using structural equation model. So structural equation model is a statistical technique which is given in the title itself. All right. Next part comes to the abstract. Now, abstract is a very important aspect. I will show you an example of an abstract first. I think I was out of the meeting for some time.
No, no, sir, you are inside in the meeting. One screen have left. And now screen is also available.
Okay, fine, fine, ma'am. So this is, so I was showing you a research paper with a very good abstract written. So this is my latest publication of 2020, 2021. Yeah, this one. So what do we do is we write like this, like the title is Modeling Value-Based Banking and Customers' Banking Choices in the Era of Marketing 3.0, an empirical study with logistic ordinal regression. So you see it's a Scopus indexed paper. I have given the name of statistical technique in the title itself. Okay. And now I have not written about value-based banking or something in detail in the abstract. It is only 150 words. So write it like marketers keep on evolving the ways and means of this. During the last few decades, marketing practices have been changed rapidly. The customers now wish to associate it with those organizations and brands which are ethical and follow high standards of integrity. Such aspects have been incorporated in the concept of marketing 3.0, which is based on value-based metrics. That's all. This is the theoretical part. Rest all is the methodological part, you can say. The present studies empirically predicts the constructs of VBM in banking industry context. So you use value-based metrics, you use an abbreviation. Use abbreviation everywhere then. 27 items, then selection of banks was done, 25 items, then it was found that value-based banking and education have significant effect on dependent variable. So basically you make it so crisp that your whole paper, including the finding, in one line you see there is a finding also. So this is all you have to include in one small paragraph of 150 words. Okay. So this is one example. So we'll keep on, browsing this paper every now and then. Keywords are very important. We all know that some of the keywords should come out from the title itself and one or two keywords from the abstract. There should not be any keyword which is not there in the title and the abstract, because title and abstract is an extension of the keywords only. Now, how do you write an introduction? In introduction, you give the background of the concept. If you are writing about AI in retail, like yesterday I have finished a paper on AI in retail, that is e-retail. So you write a context, that how it started and what are its components and what is the context and how AI is helping in retail and all. Then detail about it. You start in 4 or 5 lines, one paragraph, you give a background, then you give a detail in one page, how the idea emerged. If it is a new idea, you can write how the idea emerged, and then the motivation of the research, that why you are doing this research. This all may be given in the introduction. Then comes the most important aspect, literature review. Now, I have recently got a paper for review from Emerald Insights, A category journal. Okay. So I rejected that paper. As a reviewer, I rejected that paper because that paper had very old reviews of 2005, 6, 1998, and there were hardly 2, 3 references of 2022, 2021. So never do that. But let us start from the slide. Relationships already studied among variables. Whatever variables you are taking in your study, how the relationships have been studied by other authors. What other authors have found as the relationships. Construct-wise literature review. So construct-wise means, like, suppose your construct is brand loyalty. So write on brand loyalty, how it has been defined and how it has been connected with other things. Similarly, customer satisfaction. So write about customer satisfaction, purchase intention. Leads to hypothesis development. Your literature review should give the directions for the hypothesis. So you should, develop the hypothesis from the literature. I'll show you. So you see, this is also a Scopus indexed paper with one of my scholars. Now I'll show you. This is introduction. Now then this is literature review. So as soon as observations from the literature, this is also a part of literature review. Conceptual framework, this is also a part of literature review, and then hypothesis will be developed. So EVOM and brand attitude, this is construct wise and relation wise. So showing relation of two aspects, and this is the hypothesis that developed. EVOM and purchase intention, there is a relation, the hypothesis 2 is developed. Hypothesis 3 is developed, brand attitude and purchase intention, and then methodology. So this is the basically these all headings. Heading number 2, 3, and 4 are related to literature review only. Observations from literature, that is also literature. Literature review 2, 3, and 4. You may divide, you may not divide, but this is very important. This part is very, very important, that you should develop the hypothesis based upon the earlier studies to authenticate it. So in the writing style, I have this paper of mine. Kodesha was my scholar, Kodesha and Mittal. Story form or thematic form. This is a thematic form. Sometimes people write it in paragraph form. Please do not write in paragraph form for research papers. Like, for example, this is written like this. Consumers have always found interpersonal interaction to be more credible and persuasive than commercial information. Lopez and Cecilia 2014. So you should not write it. Lopez and Cecilia 2014 found that this paragraph change. That is a very bad style. That style works in the thesis, not in the research papers. Research paper should be very, very crisp. Okay. Now see, when this paper was published in 2016, and you'll see most references of 2014, 2015, 2013, 2014 again. So this is very important that at least in the beginning you give some good references of. In the first paragraph, there are three recent references. 2013 is there. So 3-4 years, within 3-4 years of references should be everywhere in the spread over in this 2014, 2014, right? Again 2014, 2012. So this is a good way to present. All right. Then I have written like 40 papers. If you take in a research paper in references, your 20 paper should be from 2022 to 2020. I mean, if you are writing it in 2022, your 50% paper should be from latest and rest should be from 5-6 years or 7-8 years, not later than that. Literature review simply means citing the previous work. That is fine. We have already done it. Data analysis. Appropriate statistical tools based on the nature of data. We have discussed a lot in the last 5 days that how to choose the statistical techniques, how to go about them. So that's again very, very important to know that which tools to be applied. Okay. Next comes is the nature of measurement, nature of measurement of DVs and IDVs, number of independent and dependent variables, and number of categories in the dependent and independent variables, if any of them is nominal. Okay, so these 5 steps leads you to the right statistical technique. Which technique should be applied? Okay, so if the data is cross-sectional, nominal is the independent variable, or interval dependent variable is interval, we will apply the ANOVA or t-test. This is the way that we choose. Now we have discussion, implications, and conclusion. So in the discussions, we actually connect the results with the literature. We validate the results in the light of the literature. So we never write discussions in the isolation. Suppose if I show you in this paper, any of the papers, like in this paper, how do we write the discussions? Now in discussions and conclusion, we start with the paragraphs. The paragraph tells about the results that we have found. Like customers' opinion are crucial for organization to know the reaction of consumers to their items, and also improve this. A general thought about it. Lot of studies have been carried out. Some of the studies, past studies have examined the effect of this. Okay, but few studies exist looking at the relationship between this and this. So what we are rationalizing is that whatever we are finding is new. So this I am writing in the discussion and conclusion, that what we have found a relation of EVOM, brand attitude and purchase intention, which it is not there in many studies. So this is a gap. The reason for our study was to fill this gap. So on the premise of earlier studies, we examined the impact of user-generated EVOM given on various social media platforms, including social networking sites, company websites, review sites, and brand pages on brand attitude. So how do you write it? It's very important. So we are writing on the premise of the earlier studies. We are not doing it in isolation. Studies are not done in the isolation. They are done in the on a premise which has already set by other researchers. So present study extends previous studies on EWOM and EWOM context that concludes the UGC user-generated positive EWOM has considerable effect on the brand attitude and purchase intention. Even if an EWOM environment recommendations and reviews often come from unknown source, the consumer finds it to be more reliable than the firm generated content. Okay. So basically, you write your findings in such a way that they should not offend the examiner, offend the reviewer. Because if you write that my study is totally new and no one has done this study earlier and it is unique and it is the first of its own kind, nobody would believe it. You say that it is an extension of the previous research. It is an addition in the previous research. Okay. So that is the language one should write. All right. Then we see this is the discussion is ended here. Theoretical and managerial implications. Now, what are the theoretical implications? They are the academic implications, like how the study contributes to the academics. And in theoretical implications, we have, sorry, in managerial implications, how the study will be applicable in the business. The, sorry, the business applications of the study. So with the development of Web 2.0, EWOM has become this. This is a very simple thing. Brand attitude and purchasing expectations specified how online communications conduct the making. These are all theoretical implications. This paper provides an assortment of hypothetically grounded commitments on this. So there were some commitments, some things done in the literature which were not backed by or supported by the empirical evidences. So we in this research paper did this. Then we come to the results would make ready for academicians to know online verbal exchange is a finer manner, giving new experiences besides providing them further thoughts and this and that. Okay, so it is written in such a way that it proves, it convinces the examiner that we are contributing in the existing body of knowledge. In managerial applications, you can see that we have written more about the study found that there exists significant relation between this. The study found that user-generated EWOM influences customers' purchase intention. So the managers can link their products like that. So these are managerial implications. Then there are limitations like uh, in which area the study was conducted and what other variables that can be included in the study. So this is basically the whole thing, that the way we should write a paper. Limitations are not mandatory, but if the the paper asks, that we can give the limitations. Like in this paper, we have given the conclusion, but there are no limitations written here. This is a proposed predictive model. You want to give it or you don't want to give it, that's your wish. But you elaborate the things. I would like to show you the methodology also. You see, the methodology has been written full one page. So you have to clarify each and everything, like total 500 branch banking customers were contacted from a different nationalized banks in India, different banks. 300 customers were contacted through broadcast, Google form, 150 each researcher. This is also specified. There are two authors, 150 we did. Remaining 200 customers were targeted through Survey Monkey, 100 by each researcher. So if you write, an elaborative methodology, the reviewer starts believing you that you have done the work. Okay. Then the first round of Google form was circulated in the month of April 2018, where 48 and 45 responses were received by the researcher and one and two separately. Okay. The second round, this was the thing, and this was the thing, that everywhere we have written that how many responses we got, and we got 283 out of 500 circulated questionnaires with a sample with a response rate of 57%. So incomplete questionnaire is 219, which were removed from the study. Okay. Then we have value-based metrics, that is also a part of methodology. Then how many statements or items were taken, and dependent variable, I prefer to banking with this. TBL stands for triple bottom line principle. Then other variables, age and education. So your dependent independent variables in brief, number of statements, each and everything is there in the methodology part. Then the analysis. All right. So this was one thing that I wanted to show you. From the research paper writing. If you have any questions in between, you can ask, then I'll show you some one or two more papers. The features of good research papers will show. Any questions or any doubts from any participant?
Sir, no, sir. None of them have asked any doubt because everyone is clear about the session, sir.
Thank you. So we'll see some more papers, like this is my best paper, computers in human behavior. Now if you see, this journal is now a 10 plus impact factor. It's an elsewhere journal. So we were 3 authors in that, and you see the title is very crisp: Spreading Love Through Fan Page Liking, a Perspective on Small Scale Entrepreneurs. So I have not given any theory, any model, any statistical technique in the title, so that is optional. Okay. Now this is, see the abstract which has been written in a very crisp, very clear manner. Okay. So we set a context in the half of the abstract, like this one. Almost half, right? And then we start like here, yes, like this. In half of the abstract, we write about the methodology in brief. So the research was conducted taking 5 popular small-scale entrepreneurs-backed firms on the basis of the number of likes on the fan pages. Respondents of the survey were followers of the fan page sampled from. Structural equation modeling was applied, 301 responses, and these are the findings. The study reveals a positive relationship between likes of brands and fan page and brand love. Okay, so this is the way that we begin. Then there is a introduction, then theoretical background. What is a Facebook fan page? Theoretical background is more or less the type of a literature review. Small scale business and social media networks. Then this is the model, conceptual model, which is very important. Fan page leads to purchase intention, leads to brand love, and leads to the electronic word of mouth or word of mouth. This is the whole literature resulting in hypothesis. Hypothesis 1, then we'll have more hypothesis. Hypothesis 2, hypothesis 5, somewhere we'll be finding hypothesis 4. So this is the whole story of hypothesis setting. So you have extensive literature review and you set up the hypothesis rationale of the study. After literature review and hypothesis, you prove that why your study is important. So I proved that many studies in past have focused in individual motivation for social media. But what is new in this study? So, but does this like emotionally connect to the consumers? So we found that emotional connect of liking and love, which was not there in the earlier studies. Okay. So then again, the same thing, like methodology of research. So an ad hoc survey on Facebook fan page was conducted to test main hypothesis. The survey is centered on the fan page and all. There is a questionnaire, structured questionnaire. The survey was focused about the findings of the literature review. And this also we gave in methodology. 5-point Likert scale, totally agree and totally disagree. So we distributed it to 350 customers, respondents, and 301 were found. The respondent's age is given in methodology and tool is also given, structural equation modeling. Okay. So this completes the introduction of methodology. Then we have a sampling framework. The whole sampling framework you see such in an elaborated form. Okay. Then we have given that how we collected data. A web linked version of survey instrument was made and it was sent to the followers. 80 respondents were randomly selected, and finally the 311 was the sample size. Then we have construct of research model, like all the construct have been done. Then there is validity, content validity, then construct validity, then we have the results. After results, what we have done is again the same thing, that implications, discussions. This is the discussion part. So in the discussion part, you can see the similar things have come out, but in a way that we convince that this is what we have done. You see that this is also discussion. All impacts through have been this impacts. Then we have managerial implications and the academic or theoretical implications, limitations and scope for future research. So this is the way that we go for the studies. Okay. So I think that's all from my side. Hope this 1 week workshop has been, a thought provoking, and I could contribute to your existing knowledge. So I will stop sharing now. So this was all from my side. Now, as instructed, I have.
Yes, sir. One sec, sir. Yes, it's really a pleasure to have you, sir. Really, it's an effective PDP classes for us. We have shared a lot of knowledge to us because we know the SC. Sorry, sir. Really, we are very pleasure to hear all the content, whatever you have taught in the virtual PDP, sir. Really, very useful for us because we know about the SPSs on the initial stages only, but now we know the depth content also. So now I would like to welcome our principal, ma'am, Dr. C. Inita Lebanon MNC, ma'am, will give the summarize about our PDP program, sir. Just a minute, sir. Ma'am will give the convey. Ma'am?
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My heartiest congratulations to Dr. Arun Mittal, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Birla Institute of Technology, for conducting this 7 days virtual FDP on research methodology and data analysis using SPSS. So the day, actually, we had a very good introduction system on data analysis, its types, and he also gave a very descriptive note on all the statistical methods, and he also continued with the hypothesis formulation, the chi-square, the ANOVA, so the different techniques were discussed in detail, and we really had a very extensive learning, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. And even the advanced method of interpretation of the results, it was really a very awesome session. Thank you for guiding us. And I thank the Department of Accounting and Finance, Dr. Radha and her team, for coordinating this activity, because you have done a very good job bringing us the right resource person in the right time. Thank you, dear participants. Thank you, sir, once again. On behalf of the management, I thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an honor for me to be associated with such a wonderful team. They have coordinated it very nicely, and they have taken care of my convenience also every now and then. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your leadership.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now I'll call upon the Mrs. Porcelli, ma'am, to give a vote of thanks.
Good evening to all. Friendship is such a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt by heart. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. Myself, Porcelli, Assistant Professor, Department of Accounting and Finance. A sincere thanks to our beloved Chairman, Survivor Ganapani sir, and Young and Energetic Secretary, Sir P.R. Prem Kumar, sir, our Dynamic Joint Secretary, P.R. Premchand, sir, our beloved Principal, Dr. Vinita Latanan Ebansi, ma'am, and Vice Principal, IPSC Coordinator, Mrs. Rakesh Solomon, ma'am. Thank you all. I would like to thank our beloved Head, Department of Accounting and Finance, Dr. S. Radha, ma'am, for his constant help and guidance that created a source of energy within us. We will ever remain grateful to you and we thank you for being with us today. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank the honorable delegates who blessed with us their presence for 7 days ritual PDP. Words are not enough to thank the constant guidance and support to shape the conference. Thank you, sir. I'm very much thankful to all our faculty colleagues and non-teaching staff members who always stand by us and motivated. I feel proud and thank you for making this event on successful. Last but not least, a warm thanks for the technical team, Mr. Avilas sir and Mr. Loganathan sir. Without their support, our virtual program will not succeed. Thank you all.